Hello to everyone who's watching. We are super excited to be here for our second time meeting for a bookish discussion about cosplay and books. If you missed us at Emerald City Comic Con, we probably will not be saying the exact same things, but we will have a lot of the same content here, which is great because then we can talk to a lot more people, even though it was really exciting to see everyone in person. So we can start off by just going around the room per the slides. Our panel, I'll go first, of course. I'm Emilee, also known as our Shield Maiden. And we decided to put our favorite reads in this slideshow as well. Also, I'm sorry if anyone notices that I'm like talking with a little bit of a lisp. I have a cough drop in my mouth because we just inhaled smoke for 2 weeks. So I think everyone has kind of a scratchy throat that lives in Seattle. So bear with me. But one of my favorite books that I've read recently is The Inheritance of Orquidea Divina. And it was such a fun read, very whimsical, very, I don't even know, like whimsical is a great way to, kind of like dark whimsy. Great read, not a YA, so I would suggest it for 13 and up or 18 and up, I don't know, but I'd say probably 13 and up for that. And then in my picture here, you can see, this is kind of a OC, but I'm also dressed as kind of inspired by the Throne of Glass series as well. So I decided to embody one of my favorite characters there. So next up we have Taylor.
Just unmute myself there. Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Taylor. I go by she, her pronouns. I have orange hair. I have a bit of a cold, so if you hear someone that sounds like they're talking with their nose plugged, it's probably me. My favorite recent read, or one of them, it's kind of like a favorite recent read series, was The Prison Healer. I really liked the atmosphere of the first book and the cliffhanger it ended on. And the third book of the trilogy just came out over, I think earlier this year is when it came out, and it ended really nicely, and I really enjoyed it. However, I really quick have to give an honorable mention to The Ballad of Never After because I love that series and I devoured that book in like 5 hours. It was so good. My cosplay photo here is from the main character of the Throne of Glass series. I love this photo because all that scale mail you see, I did that all by myself. I like hand threaded it with the metal hoops and all of that, and that was kind of the first thing that I ever made from scratch for a cosplay, so it holds a real special place in my heart.
Hi guys, I'm Georgia. I go by PG Queen Cosplay on Instagram and TikTok. For those who can't see right now, I've got bangs and glasses going on because we're hiding the fact that I'm not wearing makeup. Just not feeling it today. So my favorite recent read, I've been working through the Dark Artifices series finally, and when we were at Emerald City, I did finish Lady Midnight, and I actually just finished a couple weeks ago Lord of Shadows, which books don't ever really make me cry, but that is one of a handful that did. So Lord of Shadows really did one on me. And then my photo is me dressed as Poppy from the From Blood and Ash series, and actually this is my second attempt at Poppy. And I do like how this one came together a lot better than the first time. Funny thing is though that when I posted this on Instagram, people actually liked the first version better. So I was like, oh damn, don't know how that happened, but yeah, this is my second attempt at Poppy. Might revisit her in the future.
Hi everyone, I'm Elizabeth. I go by Cosmic Race Cosplay on Instagram. I use she, her pronouns. Right now, I'm a person with long dark hair, dark eyes. I'm currently wearing white shirt, black cardigan, and I have some little string lights and a tapestry going on in my background. The cosplay photo you see here is me as Alina Starkov from the Grishaverse, or the Shadow and Bone series, but reimagined based on the show, the Netflix show, that reimagined Alina as half Shu, or that would be half like East Asian Chinese coded. For me, this photo was a pretty big deal because I don't think I've ever had the representation of a like YA fantasy protagonist who is Asian in any way until recently, and so that was really special to me. And I think also this for me was my era of when it was COVID and I was self-shooting everything, and so this was totally like edited by me and all that stuff on my little phone apps, you know, and so figuring that out was kind of a fun process. And then my favorite recent read is probably Iron Widow, and excitingly enough, Xiran Zhao, I think, just released the title of the next book in the series, which is going to be, I think, Heavenly Tyrant, and like the cover got released and it's super cool. Anyway, but I really loved it. I think it is YA, although I would say honestly, it's got some definitely some I know very like violent aspects to it, but that's particularly why I like it. I think one of the ways they describe it is like a primal scream of a book, and I think that's like a review and also my own take of it. I think it's very much doesn't hold back, and I love to see kind of just a very much like just have a female protagonist in there that's very much full of agency, full of rage, and in a sci-fi medieval like Chinese coded world. So that's very cool.
Hi guys, I'm Jenna. I am with short brown hair. I've got a sheer sparkly shirt on, and I've got my bookshelves in the background. I have my handle as Live a Thousand Lives on Instagram and TikTok. And I, of course, have The Raven Boys. If anyone follows me on any platform, The Raven Boys is the book that I will die on a hill about. It's been my absolute favorite book series for a very long time. And we just got the last book in the Dreamer trilogy, which is the spinoff, and it was Maggie Stiefvater's Goodbye to the Entire World. So I've been in a very emotional, bookish place lately, and I can still say that it holds out as my favorite book series of all time, and I could not recommend it more. It is young adult. It follows a found family group in Virginia looking for an ancient Welsh king that's been buried in the mountains, and you get a wish if you wake him up. That's the basic premise. And I could probably go on and on about it, and I would turn this entire live stream into a Raven Boys rant. In my cosplay photo, that is Moore, or the Morrigan, from A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. She's probably one of my favorite comfort characters to do. Though I think I've said a lot how I've kind of rewritten her. She's very much a side character in the books. And so I've kind of reimagined her and have given her all of her own traits whenever I cosplay her, which is why she's turned into one of my comfort characters.
Hi, I'm Clare. Physical description, I'm wearing my best folklore hairstyle, Taylor Swift folklore era hairstyle, because it has been super rainy and my hair is a mess. I am in like a grayish blue. I'm in my night court PJs. And behind me, I have a hanging plant with some green and gold leaves, and then a picture of a statue. One of my favorite reads that actually Emily and I discovered during our quarantine book club is The Raven and the Dove. I don't know why more people have not read this book series. I love it. It is a Tristan and Isolde retelling, but set in a world with magic and these people who are basically they're bird people. But it's so much more than that. It's so cool. It's so interesting. And in the second book, you get, they're all on these like floating islands. And then in the second book, we find out what is underneath the islands. There's dragons. There are angsty boys with wings. There's magic. There are floating cities. There's all kinds of cool stuff. And I just love this book series so much. It's so good. Another recent book that I read that I really, really enjoyed was Juniper and Thorn by Ava Reed. That's an adult book. It's very adult. Check out the trigger warnings for it. But I cannot stop thinking about it. And I really, really enjoy her books. my photo that I'm cosplaying as in this photo is Circe from Madeline Miller's Circe, which Song of Achilles is one of my all-time favorite books. And Circe is another one of her books about, it's a retelling of the Odyssey, where Circe is the witch who lures Odysseus onto her island. And so this is me in Discovery Park luring absolutely no one.
Perfect. And now that I have finished my cough drop, I will do a full description of myself as well. I'm wearing a pink sweater. I've got two-tone hair, blonde and black, and I'm wearing a pink headset to match my sweater. And I've got glasses. My background is blurred out because otherwise you'd see cats doing backflips behind me, probably. And we don't need the distraction. So moving right along, we'll just leave these questions open to whoever wants to answer them. Nobody has to answer them that's here. But if you'd like to jump in, what was your first cosplay?
I'll go first. My first cosplay ever, that's not, it's actually not book related, and it was back in 2015, 2016, I went to my first ever convention, and at the time I was completely obsessed with Fairy Tail, the anime Fairy Tail, and so I cosplayed as Natsu Dragmeal from Fairy Tail. And then also for those who know me, I'm not just obsessed with books, I'm also obsessed with like DC animated series, and I love Young Justice so much. I don't know if anyone knows what that is, but I love that cartoon so much. And so I cosplayed as a Young Justice character on one of the other days of that convention too. But my first book cosplay was Elaine Archeron from the ACOTAR series.
I can go next. So my first cosplay, sorry, I'm not sure if it's actually registering me. My first cosplay was back in 2016, and it was the Suicide Squad just squad look for Harley Quinn, which I feel like was a lot of people's first cosplay. That was a very popular costume that year. And then my first book cosplay was maybe a year later. I did Feyre from ACOTAR. So that was like my first book cosplay, and then it just snowballed from there.
So my first was actually just last year. I didn't start dabbling in cosplay until 2021, honestly. I think 2020 was when the groundwork got laid and all the quarantine time, where you're spending a little too much time scrolling on Bookstagram and seeing bookish cosplays. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like fun. But I started buying slowly all the pieces for Bryce Quinlan from Crescent City, because she's the main character in the Sarah J. Maas universe that resonates the most with me. So I was like, if I'm going to do anyone, it's going to be myself, but a book character. So I like slowly got like the red wig, and then it's like the wig leads to the ears, and the ears leads to the eyeballs and the contacts, and it just like slowly falls together. And so, yeah, Bryce Quinlan was my first go around.
I like how many of us are somehow rooted in SJM. Like almost all of us have been like, yeah, this is my, I mean, I know obviously it's such a huge part of bookish communities, but I think also I would encourage anyone, I know that we're very fantasy based, but there's definitely like a bookish space for non-fantasy. I'll just put this out there. There's bookish space for non-fantasy cosplays as well. So if you're watching this and you're kind of like, well, I'm not really into fantasy, like maybe you're more into sci-fi or horror or whatever, like there's definitely space for you. The TikTok community especially is just huge. So
I have seen so many incredible Anne of Avonlea cosplays for October. It's been like, so all of the classic characters I feel like come out in fall, and it's incredible. They're my favorites.
I may or may not have Anne with an E cosplay. Now I'm like, dang it. Everybody's stealing my idea. No, I'm just kidding.
Do it. Just do it.
I just found out, well, I didn't just find out. we're gonna sidetrack for just a second, but I just like allowed myself really to watch the Amethyst E series because I grew up on like the 1984 Canadian series, and I grew up watching that with my grandma, and my grandma passed away a few years ago, and so it was like a very like tender spot, and so I was like, I just did not feel right watching like a new adaptation of Anne of Green Gables. But now that I've watched it, I think I'm on like almost the end of season 2. Now that I've watched it, I think there's like so much joy to like seeing the way that they portrayed it and like little things different that I'm really happy with it. And I honestly think like even thinking back to like my grandma who introduced me to like Anne of Green Gables, like she would have loved, well, maybe a couple things she wouldn't have loved, but like all in all, she would have loved the adaptation because that character is like, I mean, she's such, I don't want to assign characters things, but I'm like, she's such a neurodivergent boss. Like, I'm like, she's an icon. She's an icon. And I'll just give her that little award. I guess I can go since I'm unmuted anyway, also. My first cosplay was from Doctor Who. It was a tiny little character that I really liked, kind of like what Elizabeth was saying. Before that point, I really hadn't seen very many Black characters in sci-fi that I could identify with. And so seeing her on screen was just like, it made me so happy. And I like went and I found like the exact dress that she's worn and everything. And I wore it to this tiny little con and it was very cute. But Bookish, I actually can't even, I don't think, well, really like tied to Quarantine Book Club, which Clare and I do, which is like a monthly Instagram/TikTok book club we do. I don't know that I really did any full cosplays as much as before I did, like I used to do these like little blip cosplay. I don't even know what to call it. Like I would do like an outfit inspired by this book. And those were really, really fun to do. And it'd be more like a compilation. So I didn't do like a full cosplay. It was more like a closet cosplay. But I love doing that for books too, because kind of what Jenna was saying, I don't know if I like to follow the directions. Like I like inspired by is my favorite phrase for cosplay. So yeah, that's me.
I guess I can go. Yeah, I think my first cosplay was way back in 2014. It was Avatar Korra from The Legend of Korra, so like the sequel series to Avatar: The Last Airbender. Always been an Avatar girl for real. And then I think first bookish cosplay, I wanted to say at first, maybe didn't really get into bookish cosplay until like last year when I did Susan Pevensey from Chronicles of Narnia, but kind of reimagined. That was my excuse to actually like buy a bow like as a prop and also that like actually fires. So I was like, it's like a double win. But actually, now that I'm talking, that's I think my first was actually Raina from the Rick Riordan like universe, Percy Jackson, but then the sequel series of Percy Jackson because I got really into it, Heroes of Olympus, and then she was like a side character in that, but she was like the first character that I saw that I like ace coded in my head. And then I think, yeah, that was just super cool to see. So yeah, that was my first bookish cosplay, I actually think.
All right. Our next question is, if you could become one fictional character and live out their book journey, who would you choose? This is my favorite question from last time. We're all like,
I'm keeping my answer from last time. I thought about it again, and I'm still coming back to Addie LaRue from The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue.
I also stand by that I don't want to live the life of any of my favorite book characters because I would not survive. I'd be out so quickly. I don't know.
So much trauma.
Maybe Mort. Can I be the talking doorknob? That seems...
Yeah.
Be sarcastic and cryptic all day. I think I'd like to be maybe one of like the cryptic like spiritual guides the characters always get, because then I don't really have to like say it. I can, and then I can watch them get frustrated, and I feel like that would have some weird like kind of sadistic sense of humor and enjoyment for me. So That's what I'll go with this time.
Yeah, I'll change mine actually, because I can't remember who I said. Well, I think I said Mexican Gothic last time, but I'm gonna change mine to Jane Eyre, because I love how much angst I would just be entitled to. Like, I get to wear black, and like, I think that is my favorite book by like on the planet. I've read Jane. I barely make it through books one time, let alone reread things. Ask Clare. I've been reading the same book for like 3 years. Because I'm a slow reader normally. I really am. I get distracted. But I've read Jane Eyre like so many times it's not even funny, and it never gets old. And I think oh my gosh, why did I just go blank? What's his name? The guy from Jane Eyre. Okay, well,
Rochester.
wow, everyone said, and I didn't hear anyone.
Mr. Rochester.
Yeah,
Rochester.
Like literally, like, which explains why I have dated Scorpio men. Explains it, because like that was like my first book love ever, and I'd read so many books before then, but like that was my first book love, which we'll go into. I can talk to my therapist about that tomorrow, but I think I would love to live that story, and I'd be like in Victorian England in the moors, and I would inherit great wealth and be an independent woman and just work on my embroidery and speak French with a small child. It would be great.
I love hearing a like Rochester girly instead of like a Darcy girly for once. That's so refreshing.
Yeah,
I'm the same way, and it's always Darcy, but I don't care.
I can't believe we've never talked about Jane Eyre. I love, and how much we all collectively love Jane Eyre.
Yeah,
this is actually really exciting. That was one of the only books in high school that I seriously enjoyed.
There's so much angst. I just love how, but I love that it's like celebrated and effortless. Like you can it just
revel in
you
it.
up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Self-indulgent, that's what I would call it.
I did just want to bring up, I think someone in the chat or someone on the stream had a question going back to our last discussion of cosplay, asking about did we know how to sew or craft before we started cosplay? And I would say for me, the answer was absolutely not. And so that's why my first cosplay was like entirely like thrifted, and then you like add things like bias tape and like, you glue stuff on, or you like iron on embroidery like patches. That's how I started, and then you just kind of go from there. But yeah.
I still don't know how to sew. So we're still winging it at this point.
I knew the barest minimum from, they called it fashion class at school. It was sewing class. And I knew just basic stuff from there. But I'd say like, especially Emilee, Clare, and Taylor, just the things that they're able to create, and especially their willingness to keep learning their craft and how to perfect their sewing and just their, I don't know, garment making in general. It's always amazes me, these three women. And I don't know, y'all do the most, and it's so cool to see what you guys are able to do, especially Clare. Like I told you, I think this was when Jenna, Clare, and me went out in Seattle, and we were like super like tipsy at this point. And I was telling Clare, I'm like, I was so impressed. I didn't think you'd be able to do Danielle, but I was so impressed you were able to do it. And I stand by that. Because I just look at that and I think of my own insecurities about how I would think, oh yeah, I can do that, and then I'm not able to. And just Clare did the thing. She did that. And it just amazes me every time I see that cosplay that she made that. You guys are just amazing.
Honestly, it amazes me too.
And I think that's what you said at the time. So I was like, oh my God, that could have gone so badly.
I remember, I think the first time I wore it to EC3 in 2020 in the pandemic year. And Emilee looked at me and went, you really just like, that exists because of sheer willpower, huh? And I was like, I guess, yeah. But I think it's really interesting because like I have been sewing since I was like 5. Like I don't remember learning how to sew because my mom sewed, and my mom's incredibly crafty. And so I grew up sewing with her. And then I talked about it in the most recent show that I did. I went to college for theater arts and was getting my theater degree and had to take costume crafts. And somewhere in that taking of the costume crafts class, I convinced myself I didn't know how to sew. So I feel like I had the ability to sew, and then I convinced myself that I couldn't, and now I am relearning at like from square one. And it's been a journey and a process. And oh my God, sewing is hard. Sewing is so hard. I don't love sewing, but I love having sewn.
That's really funny. I never actually knew that story, Claire, because I did the exact same thing. I grew up also, sorry, Taylor, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I also grew up knowing to sew because my mom is a seamstress, like an actual seamstress. Like she was like paid to do it. So like my mom taught me to sew very young. Then I went to college and I got a degree in clothing and textile design, at which point I decided that I did not know how to sew. I was like, this is not for me. I don't know how, no, I can't do this. And then I didn't touch a sewing machine for like 10 years or something. I would knit and I crocheted, but I didn't sew for really until the last few years. But it's kind of like reteaching yourself a little bit. It's kind of an accelerated track, I would say. Like I'm really thankful I had people teaching me very young, but at the same time I've kind of had to like relearn a lot of things. And I'm constantly learning. Like, oh my gosh, every time I make a pattern, I'm like, what? I'm confused every single pattern I make. I have never made something confidently. So there's one for the audience.
I didn't know how to sew. I mean, like I had a general idea of like you plug in the machine and it does things and then I make it do those things, right? So general idea of that. And I wanted to sew stuff right away when I started cosplaying, but I am a person that gets very easily overwhelmed by incredibly detailed instructions, which you would think like you hear that and it's like, well, that doesn't really make any sense because normally that's supposed to be helpful. But for me, it's too many numbers, it's too many words, it just overwhelms my brain. And so then I'm just like, I have no idea what I'm doing and I give up. And then I found Makara Tours, her sewing tutorials on YouTube, and she is just so wonderfully chaotic and vaguely descriptive, where I'm like, oh, okay, so my brain understands your process. Like I need it to be chaotically organized, and I don't know how that works, but it's what works for me. And so ever since then, it's a process that works. I made that Evangeline cosplay, and I put it on and was like, I don't know how this happened, but it happened, and this is great. And then behind me, I have this Court of Nightmares dress that I don't know how that happened, but it happened, and it's great, man. I thread that sewing machine with a hope and a prayer every single time. And I don't know if I'll ever be like, yeah, I know how to sew. I know what I'm doing. But so long as a finished product comes up at the end of the day, I'm like, all right, we did a thing, it's fine.
I think sorry.
No, I was gonna say, because I know that they specified crafting as well, and I've been super obsessed with EVA foam stuff lately for armor builds, because there's so much potential for that in like the fantasy books that I read, and that it's a long process, but I almost like it better than sewing my own costumes.
I will second that. Yeah, as someone who I do not sew still, I still just like buy base pieces and modify because but foam, cardboard, like discarded cardboard, like you can get free boxes from like bookstore dumpsters and stuff. Like I work at bookstore, those kind of things. Like those materials are still, and I mean, Emily, curtains, that's like, Goodwill curtains are the place to be for things and all that stuff. And so like, yeah, I mean, sometimes you go a lot of years of cosplaying and you just never sew, but you learn to get really good at shaping, like, yeah, cardboard, foam board, all that. Yeah.
Yeah, I never sewed any of my cosplays until a little bit on my review. So like in 2020, but I started cosplaying when I was in like 2015 or something. So it took me a while to allow myself really to get to that level of confidence. I also would say that I actually prefer more tactile ways of making. Like I love paper mache more than anything in my life. It's like weird. I don't know why, but in like something clicked in childhood that I was like, this is amazing. And I love knitting and crocheting so much more than sewing. But as Claire said, I love what I can make when I sew. I love having sewn, but I do not like sewing. I've never liked sewing, I don't think. But that's okay because it lets me do what I want to do. It gets me from point A to point B, which is nice to have that skill set. Did we want to hop back to our fictional character? Did anyone else want to answer this question, or we can go to the next one?
I have thought long and hard about this since we last talked about it. And I decided Peter from Peter Pan. I am also going to go classics. I'm like, you're telling me I can go live on an island, no one's going to bother me, and I can just fly around, no problems. I always win. Done. Like that's the best case scenario I can think of. So I've changed my answer to Peter.
And all the mermaids will be in love with you.
Exactly. Like my life is great. Nothing goes wrong.
All right. Anyone else for this one, or we can move on?
I'm good.
All righty. What is your favorite book trope?
Found family every time. If it has found family, I'm sold. I don't need anything else. Also, I know that all of you are going to cover all the other ones, so this is great.
I'm trying to think of I don't know if this is a trope, but it's something that I've found. I think this is why I like books with maps in them. Is books with maps in them a trope? Because I feel like that could be a trope. Maybe not, but I like when we actually like the fantasy adventure part of a fantasy adventure. I like when we are going all around. I like referring back to the map. And I feel like I haven't read a lot of books that have included that lately. So that's kind of not, I don't know if that's a trope, but it's not your like everyday trope that we're seeing on Bookstagram or Book Talk. Also, I just love a very unhinged main character a little bit at this point. Like I just want you to go trying not to spare. I just want you to go absolutely crazy, and I am like here for the unhinged nature of it at this point. But if we're going like general tropes, I really do love a good enemies to lovers. I just like
it's a classic.
It's so good.
I love like very niche romance tropes. Like I think during our Emerald City panel, I said the nightmare trope where one of the characters has a nightmare, the other gets woken up, and then they're like comforting each other. I live for that shit. I'll be the first to swear this time, Jenna. There you go. I live for that. That is my life source. I don't know. Anytime that's in a book. So anything even along those lines too. So one bed. I don't know.
Okay.
Marriage.
What about
there was a TikTok of when the Sunshine character has their like crying breakdown and they run to the Grump character for comfort and everyone else is staring at them like this isn't wait what? And the Grump character's like, don't look at them, they're fine. I was like, that unlocked something. I was like, that is so specific, but yes, that one.
I feel like I haven't read anything like that. What would be an example?
There's some dark romances that really just cover it and they've got it and it's there and it's great.
I guess I really don't read a lot of dark romance. I thought I would have read more than I thought. Apparently I haven't run into that one.
We're talking about like niche tropes. I really, really, really love when they refer to each other by their last name.
Yes.
I don't know what it does to me, but it does things to me and I just love that.
Or when the pet name goes from like condescending to sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Things that would be weird in real life but are great in books.
They're so good in books.
That's why that makes them all the greater. Yes. They're safe there. Leave them. It took me decades to figure this out. But all your favorite things can be found in books where it's safe. Do not do that. stay away from it in real life. This is me talking to younger Emilee. Oh, I guess I'm unmuted, so I can also go for mine. Also, I have to go before Clare goes because we have too many that overlap.
You go. I'll fill in the blanks afterwards.
Okay. So my top three are I don't know like the official wording for this, but that there's a ball, a masked ball, one bed for sure. I don't know why, but I think it's funny, but also I just think it's like a good way of moving the story forward, even though it's predictable and probably really whatever. I love it. And then one that I was thinking about also is like, I don't know how many books that I actually read like this, but I'm like always rooting for the person that's not the love interest to get together with the protagonist. So it's like not
unconventional ship.
Yeah, unconventional ship. That is my trope, but it doesn't happen enough. I love, oh my gosh, when that happens in a book though, where it's like you think that people are going to get together and they don't, and they get together with someone else. That's like my favorite. That's makes me so happy. Also because I'm really good at predicting books, and I love when I can't predict what's going to happen.
I'll follow it up with, I am a really big fan of friends to lovers. It worked for me in real life, so I love it dearly. I love Grumpy Sunshine, and Jenna, I'm trying to think if there's a moment in Serpent and Dove where that specific moment happens. Because I feel like if the like Sunshine character is going to get upset about something and the Grump's going to comfort them, I feel like it happens in that series. I don't remember.
Like there's a lot of hurt comfort moments in the Serpent and Dove trilogy.
So many.
Like so many, and they're always
those characters
so
go
good.
through hell.
Just daily reminder, Serpent and Dove, man. It's so great.
So good. Yeah. My other one is I really like political intrigue, which Georgia, Twin Crowns was amazing. Thank you for that.
I've done told people. They don't listen. People are sleeping on this damn book. It drives me insane. Oh my God.
Good. It is so
And I don't like political intrigue, but like, because I can't follow it, because I'm stupid. That's the reason. But that kind of thank you. I see validation over there in the corner. That kind of political intrigue I can get into because it's interesting, it's fast paced. There's parts where it's funny. Like that's the kind of political intrigue I need. The kind that goes on in things like Six of Crows and stuff. It's too smart for me. It's too smart. I can't do it. So yeah, Twin Crowns. Please read Twin Crowns, everybody.
My brother reads high fantasy, and that's always like, you should read this book. I'm like, it's so good. I'm like, my brain doesn't work like that.
No,
absolutely not. Hard limit.
Somebody suggested, was like, you should read Dune.
I would laugh in their face.
I read 10 pages and I've never been more confused in my entire life. And if you love Dune, I'm so happy for you. And
don't you really like Dune?
We wish we were able to love it. We'll put it that way. It's not that we hate it, it's that we can't love it because we can't understand it.
There's a reason my preferences are rooted in YA, where everything is nice and easy and digestible. And like, I actually had this conversation with a coworker because I was talking about Bookstagram, and they were like, okay, you gotta explain to me like young adult, like what's the appeal of reading young adult as an adult? And I was like, because adult authors are so rooted in like convoluted language. Like to be, I feel like a successful adult author, it's to be complicated and crazy and too much. And I'm like, the beauty of YA is it's storytelling at its purest form. It's like you are getting your, fantasy from beginning, middle, and end, and it's usually all wrapped up really nicely, and you don't have to hurt your brain to enjoy yourself. So I'm like, I will read YA until I die because I don't have to feel pain to understand it. I feel pain for all the other reasons.
When I feel like a lot of times when it's like that, when it is convoluted or there's just too much political intrigue or whatever it is, it makes it so slow paced, and I just like, I don't know, I'm not the kind of person that can sit there. Even if it's 300 pages, if it's 300 pages of slow paced world building, I can't do it. I don't want that. I want our tropes in there is what I want. So
Yes.
I can. Or our characters. I mean, I love, so I said to some pros earlier, I don't really like for like how complicated it is in my head, but I love that book for the characters. So if there's great characters to balance something like that out, I'll enjoy the book. But if you don't have any of that, which is usually adult books, I can't do it.
Yeah, I guess for me, I would say a lot of them have been mentioned, but I really like platonic soulmates. Like, yeah, two characters that, you know, are like perfect for each other, but always is like, you know, in like the friend or found family capacity. I think also, I don't even know what this would be called, but like the opposite of a love triangle where like the protagonist chooses no one, or even like, I don't know, they like kill someone at the end or something like that's been held over them in some way, like the emotional vulnerability of like having your family, your friends or sibling or love interest, and then they just get rid of it. I don't know. I also think, and this is kind of going back to like the tropes I wish I saw more of, people who choose, I don't know, power over love, because I think a lot of times it's like the other way around. It's always like you have to sacrifice your power or whatever, especially for a lot of like women characters, for love and domesticity or whatever. And I think that's stupid. So anyway, I do like the idea of fantasy and being able to do that. So
okay, Elizabeth, if you haven't read it yet, Forest of a Thousand Lanterns by Julie C. Zhao, the best fairy tale retelling ever, and it's all about how the evil queen in Snow White became the evil queen, and it is fantastic. Like, woman chooses power. Yeah, it's so good. It's also set in like ancient China fantasy. It's, oh my gosh, I will rave about Forest of a Thousand Lanterns until the day I die. It is so good, and it's all about you like seeing this villain. Like, you see exactly why she takes all of the like forks in the road that she does. And I'm like, you know what? If I was her, I'd also do that. So I would also become the evil queen, I guess, which is great.
All right. Next question. What advice, we kind of went into this a little bit, but what advice do you have for new people who want to get involved in bookish communities?
I'll just say right off the bat, I don't think there's a wrong place to start. I think it's easy to maybe think like you have to start in the maybe like the bigger you know, like fandoms or bigger like spaces, or like we mentioned, like maybe start in fantasy because that's like very popular. But I think there's obviously like all these pockets for every kind of person and every kind of level maybe of involvement and knowledge. And I think you should always be able to find people who respect that. And if you don't, well, then you just know that they're not very good people. And so I think setting that boundary of just recognizing like, yeah, like you can ease into it at your own pace, and people, you can find other people who are at that level as well. And I think that's kind of, yeah, just the way to do it is like to recognize like the pockets of people who are genuinely out there and who, yeah, just want to like, yeah, talk books, no matter how niche they are or whatever.
I'm also like such a fan of people who do things passionately, whether or not I even know what it is. Like, I love like the niche like cosplay just in general, but I guess we were talking about bookish specifically, but if you want to cosplay, I love when people do like characters or series or whatever it is that they're passionate about that like are just not mainstream at all. Like, because I love how mainstream bookish, like book talk is, for instance, but it does kind of get repetitive at a moment where it's kind of like, okay, like every now and then when something does pop up on my screen that is from like, I don't know, either classic literature or just like some niche that I've never heard of. Like, I'm excited for it just because it's something different. So I also kind of along the same line is like, don't feel like just because you're not doing like a Sarah J. Maas. I always say that wrong. Kick me out of the fandom. Cosplay, or like that's not your type of book. Like, definitely don't feel like that's what you have to do in order to like create out of passion, and I think you'll find your people.
I would say too, to bounce off of that and kind of bounce off of what Elizabeth said before, you really do want to find the pockets of people you want to be around, and you do that by doing what you like. It just so happened that when I started, I liked Sarah J. Maas. I was just being introduced to those books, and like now they're very popular. At the time, there wasn't anybody looking for those, but now that's a thing. However, and so with that in mind, when I usually go to post characters that aren't, and I'm sure like other people in this chat can relate, when I post characters that aren't Sarah J. Maas, they don't do as well because those pockets of people haven't read those books. They don't recognize those characters. So you do want to go into it doing books and authors that you like, because then people are going to find you based on those characters, those books, those authors, and they're going to enjoy seeing what you're doing. They're going to be able to talk to you about what you're doing. You're going to be able to talk to them about what you're doing. And that's going to keep your motivation so much higher than it is if you're struggling to do something you don't like, or if you're trying to fit into what's popular. It's not going to work.
Georgia, completely agree. I would say I can pretty much guarantee at this point like a certain number of likes or interactions if I post something from Throne of Glass or ACOTAR or Crescent City. And so like every time I put a Raven Boys anything out into the Bookstagram world, I'm like, it's not going to do well, but did I have like way more fun making it? Did I like enjoy interacting with people in the comments 10 times more? Like, and even then, just like the one DM that comes from it, that's usually someone going, ugh, fine, I'll read it. Like, you can shut up now. And I'm like, yes, success, another one. But like, it's those books that now I've got my really kind of like tight group of people. And so I guess and this is always, I think, something a lot of us say on our platforms, and sounds so simple, but it's like, just start. Just like wherever you are, you don't have to be good at it. You don't have to like do it a certain way. You can just make the account, make your handle, start liking things. Like, you can either go like whole hog and like start taking a crap ton of pictures and edit them and have a great time in post, or you can just like slowly ease your way into it. Like, you could not touch it for a week. You cannot touch it for a month. Like, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be like another full-time job if you don't want it to be. And so the whole point of it, I think, that we can all agree on is the thing we like so much about Bookstagram or Book Talk or anything like this is the people we found and the people we get to converse with and do things like this with now, which is crazy. And that's the point of it. So starting, just like doing the thing is always the best way to go at it.
This question's a little hard for me to answer because it's something I'm still figuring out myself. Personally, I deal with it can range from like moderate to intense social anxiety, especially over chat or over any social media platform, just because things can get mistaken so easily on there. And, you know, even just commenting on something can sometimes like stress me out or cause me to have a little bit of like an anxiety panic. And I just have to take a deep breath and just, you know, spread positivity. And if I have something nice to share, I want to share that. I want to do that. And I just have to not be too hard on myself when, you know, I have a week of not posting a lot or like not posting stories because I get nervous to say how I feel about certain book related things, or like I don't comment on people's posts, or I don't reply to comments that they put on my posts. It's something that I deal with and I kind of struggle with within this community. But so far, the people that have reached out to me or I've reached out to or just conversed with have been nothing but welcoming. So all my fears are kind of unfounded, which kind of tends to be a thing for social anxiety in general. But just know that there are super nice and positive and inclusive people in this community. And that, you know, just as long as you're spreading like positivity and support, that you definitely will find a place in this community.
Yeah, if you have ever thought about getting involved, either in Bookstagram or book cosplay, like consider this your invitation. We would love to have you here with us. Like, I think it's sometimes it's really hard to start if you don't feel like you don't know anybody, but now you know us, so welcome.
Yeah.
Also,
go ahead.
go.
Go. No,
I was going to say, my really, really, really nitty gritty practical advice is if you're starting doing cosplay and you're like starting to accumulate a cosplay wardrobe, only buy things if you can use them for 3 separate things. This was what I told myself when I first started, and it got me a lot of longevity out of things. And then I started with just 5 comments and 5 shares a day on Instagram. That really helped me get comfortable. And even if I'm commenting, which I think all of you know, my standard comment is just stunning, gorgeous in all caps. I'm an all caps kind of person. But even if it's just that, you've no idea how that might make somebody's day. And I think me thinking about it like, I hope this makes this person feel warm and fuzzy on the inside when they see this. Like sometimes that helps me get over my anxiety of like, oh my God, because Taylor, I also have pretty bad anxiety. But sometimes that helps me get over it and think about like, no, how are we making it all better for everybody else?
Yeah, and also like there's such a difference. Like value doesn't only mean likes and comments. I think that's one of the things you have to remember, because honestly, some of the biggest opportunities I've ever got from social media are on some of my worst performing posts, which is funny because I always want to like delete them. But people will be like, oh my gosh, you did that one super niche thing. And I'm like, do not look at, don't look at the numbers on that. But they're like, but you did that one thing. And I really connected with that. And I work for this brand and like, we'd love to, whatever. But like, it's crazy because it's like, the stuff that does super crazy well for me on social media, normally not as much comes out of that, but like things that are like really close to my heart, like one of my best performing videos currently is from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang on TikTok, which is like literally a movie from the 1960s that nobody really knows. I mean, I think maybe it used to play on TV, so people know it from that, but it's not like a current conversation. But like the people that are on there are like, oh, like so passionate about it because they remember it. So you never know. Like Georgia was saying, like definitely follow your passion and what your like what you specifically have on your mind and heart to make or to pursue. What projects are we excited about right now? What's coming up for you guys?
I have so many. And I'm really excited about them. First off, my birthday's on Saturday, and I had one request for my partner, and that was that I wanted him to cosplay with me, and that he can't say no because it's my birthday and I'm losing health insurance, so he needs to. So we're actually doing the Court of Nightmares scene, and I'm simultaneously so excited for it because I made this, and that's exciting. However, it's gonna be steamy, and like my family follows my Instagram, so I'm kind of like, how steamy are we going here? what are we gonna do? They're watching this right now. So
Taylor, are we talking like the throne?
I'm gonna have to vector image that on because okay. Thrones are expensive, it turns out. Okay. Yeah, who knew? What a thug. But yeah, I bought like a backdrop and some like gothic spooky adornments and stuff, so I'm really excited for that. I'm also here, I'll give you a sneak peek of an EVA foam armor building for Mckinnon right now, which is really exciting because I really like armor building. I had so much fun doing alien stuff, so now I'm doing like a full-on armored costume. And then I'm also obsessed with Breath of the Wild, and the sequel comes out May of what year are we in? 2023. So it comes out next May, and I'm definitely going to do either a Link or a Zelda cosplay for that, and I'm going to get started on it in December. And I'm really excited because I'm so excited for the sequel to come out. I love that video game so much. Not book related, but you guys get it anyways.
All right, I can go next. I'm actually, the goal for December was to have Aylin's coronation dress put together. Unfortunately, the dress I ordered got here and it will not fit the vision. So we're back on square one on that. But progress will hopefully be made by then. I've also got another look for an indie author that I'm super excited about. For anyone who knows, Hellfire, which has been quite popular on Bookstagram, by Marielle Mers, is a really good friend. And she has let me know a little bit about one of his looks in book 2 that she's working on right now. So I'm super stoked about that one. And I, of course, am always working on new things for more. And so my Patreon is actually going to get a new video coming up here where I'm going to stalk through all of the ACOTAR books to find what Moore is wearing and rework it to fit her in my brain instead, which is going to be super fun.
Also, I just hope you guys all know that I'm like sitting there on mute, but I am being like, nice, that's awesome, keep going, great. Like all the encouragement is there. I just don't want to talk over anyone, so I'm like just muted over here, but it's fun to see what everyone's working on. I guess I'll go because I'm muted now. I have submitted to a couple of competitions that I'm waiting to hear back on. I hope I get in because I already bought my plane ticket to Anime NYC. Otherwise, I guess I'm just going to New York.
Hey, you know what?
you gotta live life on the edge sometimes. And then so I would be. The idea is that I would be taking my Cinderella cosplay with me to New York to compete. And then, so I have to do a couple of tweaks on that, but honestly, it's probably at like 90%, which is pretty nice since it's a month till that con. And then I have at GeekGirlCon, I'm hoping to do the, I think they're calling it a competition, but it's kind of more of a masquerade this year, it sounds like, but whatever its official title is, hoping to do that as well. But like I said, I haven't heard back yet. I have some secret things I can't talk about. I can't say that actually. I have some really cool things that are coming up also that I am not cleared to say yet, but I have, what else am I working on cosplay wise? Oh, I'm sewing right now a like Edwardian nurse outfit for hopefully for Halloween, but all I've done is cut out the pattern pieces and the party is on Saturday. So hoping that happens. From the show is called The Nick. It's on HBO Max. If anyone hasn't watched it, it is super good. If you like period dramas, it is really gritty, definitely like R-rated or whatever. But it's just a really awesome show that me and my partner like. So we thought, why not dress up as them from the main couple for Halloween, because we can't be normal and just wear Halloween costumes. That's what happens. Scorpio and Virgo get together. There's no chill. There's none. And so, yeah, I think that's going to be my next one. And then after that, I'm hoping, if I have any energy left in my body, to be sewing Addie's Christmas dress from the American Girl books. So that'll be my last if I do that, that'll be my last project for this year. So yeah.
My Christine Daae robe is in the mail. Because when I don't know if you can see it on my wall, I'm showing you. I don't know if you can see the little mask, but Phantom of the Opera, like Cats was the gateway, and then Phantom of the Opera locked the door behind me. So when I heard it was closing on Broadway, which I'm still very much in shock about, I was like, okay, we're doing this. So that robe gets here. That robe is also going to double for the main character in Lake's Edge, which I just read, which was so good, so creepy. Yeah. And then I have all the fabric. I think I was talking about this at EC3. I have all the fabric for Roxanne from Cyrano de Bergerac, the new movie with Peter Dinklage. Highly recommend. Yes, it's a musical. It's a little out there, but it is just a beautiful story. and was the first show I combat choreographed back when I was a combat choreographer in another lifetime. And then hoping to do, we'll see if it happens before the end of the year. I'm hoping to do Felicity, the American Girl, but her Christmas dress. And then early next year, we're looking at doing Jenya's kefta from Shadow and Bone. I'd really like to finish it by March, but we'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling.
I think for me,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I think for me, I'm finally at a point somehow this happened in the cosplay planning where I'm kind of open to things. I think for a while I was caught up in the cycle of like when things like certain like, I don't know, shows and books and whatnot were releasing and trying to get ahead of that. But then that just got super stressful and super like, this is no longer fun to try to keep up with timelines. So instead I'm like, I'm just going to do all sorts of random unhinged stuff that I want to do. And I think at this point, actually, I'm reverting back to my, as I noted earlier, my like roots of like being an Avatar girl and a Percy Jackson girl. And with the new like Disney Plus Percy Jackson thing, like I'm like, maybe I'll just go back to frolicking around the woods in my little like Camp Half-Blood like outfits with and just make some armor and some of that stuff. So maybe some of that's on the way. I think also with the release recently of like Rings of Power on Amazon and like just like doing some more maybe just like high fantasy looks that are Tolkien inspired has been on my mind. And then I think also going back to the Avatar thing, because I can never leave for too long for Avatar unless it drags me back. I think also now that we have a novelization of Avatar Yang Chen, I think they're doing her like duology books now that are like YA releases. I read that and I got inspired to be like, oh, well, I love that. We love lore on past avatars, so I'll probably have some sort of Yang Chen project in the works as well. But yeah, I don't know, it's kind of just fun to be able to go back to just your random childhood niche things and just enjoy that instead of trying to focus on, I don't know, new release stuff.
So this weekend I am going to try to cosplay Annabelle Blackthorn from the Dark Artifices, just because I'm going to Chicago for a couple days and that's the nearest I can get to an ocean right now. So it's not an ocean, it's just like Michigan, but I'm going to try to do those. I'm not entirely sure the photos will turn out well, but we're going to try. And then I really do within the next month, I would say, do Geraldine from Zodiac Academy, because I'm just obsessed with all of those books right now. And I mean, other than that, I just kind of have like my Halloween costume, which I just got today. Which I might be changing now because now that I thought about it, I might want to change it. But I got a costume for Viola as Sebastian and She's the Man, and I like really want to do it. But then I noticed the other night that a lot of people are doing it on TikTok, so now I don't feel smart anymore. And it's a Disney/Nickelodeon night I'm going to with actually, like, if any of you watch Victorious, Matt Bennett is hosting it, and I'm so freaking excited. But that's actually on Halloween night. And now I'm like, oh, maybe I'll do like Miss Darbus or something, because that seems like unhinged and fun to do. So those are the nearest cosplay plans.
I like that unhinged is a must for the cosplay plan.
It's more fun that way, and I don't like going to clubs, so the idea of being even in Sebastian clothing, but Miss Darbus clothing especially, like a great wig and like a scarf and just glasses, that seems so fun to just be downing Long Island's in, because I definitely won't know all the music, so it is what it is.
Awesome. All right. If there's any other questions that came through chat, I don't have the ability to see them because I'm sharing my screen, but if you guys want to call them out, we can answer those. Are there any other ones? Or if anyone watching this has any, feel free to put them in chat. Those are the questions that we have so far. We can talk forever about books, I'm sure, on our own, but if anyone has any questions for any of us, we can definitely give you guys a few minutes to drop them in chat, and we will do our best to answer.
Yeah, the last one I see in that chat right now is from before.
Yeah. A quick plug too, Jenna and Emilee and I are going to be at Barnes and Noble on Sunday, right? For Meet the Bookstagrammers. So
yes, come join us.
Yeah, that'll be in Seattle
on a Sunday. You got nothing
Well,
else better to do.
North of Seattle, but yeah, for the west, the Pacific Northwest crew.
West.
Come say hi.
I'm so jealous. You guys are gonna have so much fun.
Yeah. You want to buy another random plane ticket to Seattle?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I already have a ticket going to Orlando. Otherwise, I would have.
That's true.
Oh no, but we're cooler than Orlando. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, we are gonna be. That's gonna be the day after our.
So just to clarify, it is the Northgate Barnes and Noble, correct?
Yes,
Barnes and Noble Northgate. It's literally Northgate Station if you use the light rail. So it's a really easy train ride. If you're coming from the city.
I'm like mildly mad that they built that station there because I spent 10 years like with college and then post college of taking buses from downtown because I went to college in like Queen Anne in Seattle and then I worked in Northgate. So it was like an hour each way. It was great. During
that light rail
hour. Oh yeah.
Brilliant.
And then of course right after I didn't need it, I have a car now and everything, and then they built the station. So that's cool. Thank you, Seattle. Thank you so much.
Thank you, City of Seattle.
10 years too late, but that's fine. Any other questions pop up? Nope.
I haven't seen any.
Cool. Well, we've obviously been very thorough in our discussion. I think we covered a lot, which is awesome. If anyone has questions and is just a little shy of putting it in chat here, you can feel free to send them to us. You know, our social media handles are all, I believe, in the description or somewhere around this video as it's going live. I did have them on the slide and then I took them off. So I'm sure GeekGirlCon will follow up with those handles for you. And I have a little book quote. But yeah, that is all that we have on our side of things. But we're really, really happy that we were able to be here. So thank you guys so much for watching. Alrighty. And yeah, I guess we can say goodbye. Sorry. I'm waiting for like the heavens to open and for a direction to come from above.
We pulled back into the books.
Yeah, we're back into our shelves.
We just get like sucked on. Does everyone want to go around and just say your name and your handle one more time? I think that'll be a good way to just close this out and then we can all say goodnight.
Sure. I'm Taylor and my Instagram handle is House of Pages and Stories.
And I'm Jenna, and my handle on Instagram is Live 1,000 Lives with underscores, and on TikTok, Live 1,000 Lives, no underscores.
I'm Georgia, and I'm on Instagram as Peachy Queen Cosplay, and then on TikTok, I think it's Peachy Queen 012. I don't go on there enough. I don't remember. I think it's that. Try that. Maybe you'll find someone else. Who knows?
I'm Elizabeth, and I go by cosmic.rays.cosplay. Rays spelled like Ray from Star Wars on Instagram.
I'm Clare. I go by Shakespeare and Me on both TikTok and Instagram.
And I am Emilee. I go by Our Shield Maiden on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Bye.